Look around. You can find cars like these on AutoTrader, like that car riding your tail. Or if you're tailgating right now, all those cars doubling as kitchens and living rooms are on AutoTrader too. Are you working out and listening to this ad at the same time? Well, multitasking pro, cars like the ones in the gym parking lot are for sale on AutoTrader. New cars, used cars, electric cars, maybe even flying cars. Okay, no flying cars, but as soon as they get invented, they'll be on AutoTrader. Just you wait. AutoTrader.
War Eagle, and welcome to Ever to Podcast, our somewhat regular get-together in audio format here at E2C Network, where we share the Auburn experience. The Auburn experience to us is all about a few things: Auburn sports, Auburn culture, and Auburn family stuff. An easier way to say it might be, though, if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. So thank you so much for joining us and what we're going to be doing today for episode 26 of Ever to Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Kyle Loomis, and today's date is June 19th, 2025. On today's show, we're going to be getting into another Auburn media thing that you should be aware of and check out for Auburn football. Talk a little bit of Auburn uniforms, update you on War Ready, that somewhat Auburn basketball team, mostly Auburn basketball team that we'll talk about that plays in the summer, and maybe a few other updates if we have some time. Let's jump into it right now. Now, this is actually something that I wanted to bring to your attention yesterday, but we had a lot of news drop with schedule updates and things like that for SEC opponents. Go check out yesterday's episode 25, if you want some more information and thoughts on those news items. So on Monday, there was a special on the SEC network called All Access Auburn Spring Practice. And I do believe that they've been doing this for not every, but a lot of the SEC teams. And this is an aggregation, I believe, of a lot of the content that's been gathered, not by the university, by the athletics department of Auburn, but also of other footage as well from spring practice to kind of paint the picture and the stories that have been happening throughout spring practice. And it's actually a really good thing. If you haven't checked it out, I would highly recommend you do so. I don't know when it's going to re-air again. It aired at 7 p.m. on SEC Network this past Monday. But go search through your TV listings to see when it'll come back up. I'm certain it will have to, and I think you can probably on certain TV subscriptions find it. It's probably recorded somewhere. But if you haven't checked it out, I really would recommend. I know we've removed ourselves from spring practice a little bit, which is a good thing. It's time to move on and start looking ahead towards the fall. But it does kind of give you the picture of what's kind of been going on and talks about some of the dynamics. Quarterback battles, quote unquote. I think now we know, most of us have recognized from what Hugh Freeze has said, that Jackson Arnold is most likely going to be that guy, if not already the guy. But Deuce Knight is certainly having a great early start at Auburn, and you can see the brotherly connection that's starting to build between the two of them as the only two main quarterbacks that were even there during spring. Ashton Daniels has not even arrived yet in the spring, so he's got to still get there and compete. You can see the stories like that. If you've not gotten to know our punter, Hudson Cack, I always mispronounce his name, so just please forgive me. I'm going to say Cack because that's just how I have to do it to get through it. But he's our punter from down under. Again, you get to see a lot of his snippets from his things that he's done online on there. Clips from practice. They do talk a lot about and spend some time showing clips and putting together the story of Coach Hugh Freeze announcing his cancer diagnosis during spring practice. So that's something that you would definitely want to feel yourself in on if you're not aware what's going on there and what's happening. It does a good job of painting that picture amongst him talking about it openly at a press conference, talking to people on the sidelines. This is one of those times where they have mics on people at practice, just certainly doing work, but having a good time and also talking about some serious things too. So if you're interested in a lot of those storylines out of spring practice to kind of put an end cap on everything that was happening during that time frame, All Access Auburn Spring Football, it aired last Monday, but certainly I believe you can find it out there. If you've seen it and you had any thoughts from it, things that stuck out from you, we'd certainly like to hear your opinions about it as well. Our next news item that we're going to talk about, and it's not really news, it's more of just a cool topic that we discussed this past Tuesday. Once again, I wanted to cover this yesterday but we had such a full schedule. So if you like the concept of Auburn uniforms, if you like dreaming about what Auburn may or may not do, could do in terms of updates and things like that, well, you missed out on Tuesday night. We had the Auburn Uniform Database, Clint Richardson, on with us again. Every summer he puts out his crazy uniform ideas that are submitted by you, the Auburn family, to him to create, and then he puts out a full article. I cannot stress this enough for those of you that hear the idea of uniform changes and bristle and immediately just start typing, Auburn uniforms are perfect, don't change them. I actually agree with that, but we can at least have some fun with it and just talk about it. I'm certainly promoting what he does, auburnuniforms.com. Go check out his article, and he's sharing a lot of it on social media. But I want to point you to one uniform design that he did perfectly, and it's actually the headline one that he has on his article. And you're going to look at it, you're going to look at the color scheme, you're going to look at the fact that it's not a tiger or an eagle as the mascot on there. And you're going to be like, how in the world is this connected to Auburn? In fact, it's probably the most connected thing to Auburn in a deconstructed way that you could possibly think of. It has ties back to George Petrie, to the poem The Deserted Village, which is where we got our chosen mascot from the Tigers, ties back to Virginia, which is where some of our founders came from for Auburn University. So if you like the concept of just having fun with Auburn uniforms, or you're just curious about that type of stuff, and you like Auburn history, this is probably one of the better ones that I wasn't even aware of until I talked to Clint about it. I certainly read the article, but hearing him explain it on our show on Tuesday night, you can certainly go watch that if you'd like and get his take on that. He explains it very well, the thought process he went into explaining Auburn history, having fun with this uniform concept, and making it something that doesn't just look like some silly concoction that somebody came up with. It's certainly very jarring when you see that headline picture on his article for Auburn uniforms, and you're like, what on earth is this? That's what my reaction was. But when you see it explained in article format, hear him explain, if you watch our show, it's on YouTube. You can find It's Wild and Crazy Auburn Uniforms for 2025. You're going to walk away from it going, wow, this was well thought out, and it's got so much connections to Auburn history that I wasn't even aware of. Our next news item that we want to talk about, something that we've been holding off. There's a lot of we've been holding off of because there's been so much to talk about. Most of you will know that War Ready is a Auburn-centric team that participates in this summer league called the Basketball Tournament, TBT. For the last several years, they have had a strong Auburn connection, been very involved with the Auburn family. We've updated you a few times about updates to the roster, and we're going to do that today because it's been a minute since we gave you the update to what's going on there. Now, I want to stress this completely. This is a very fluid roster and situation. These are guys that are essentially volunteer their time. There is some compensation for them, and certainly if they win the tournament, it's a 64-team bracket, just like March Madness. They make it to the end, there's a big payout for them. So it's a great opportunity to see a bunch of former Auburn guys pulled together around this moniker War Ready. They have our colors. They've got an eagle as their logo. Anyway, most of you know what I'm talking about. Go look up War Ready, Team War Ready if you haven't already. Here's your roster as of today that we have. Wendell Green Jr., Icy Ween from the logo win, or whichever one you want to call him. He's got several nicknames. New Williams, which is a new addition. Malik Dunbar, Leor Berman, I always called him Jameer. Yaheem Hudson, brand new from this year. Chris Moore, Antoine Mason. So those are your Auburn guys. So there are currently 7 Auburn guys. Now, as is the case, some Auburn guys aren't available, so they've got to fill the roster out with whoever they can. And this is as of today. Things change. People's priorities change. So bear in mind that this roster could change on the Auburn side, but with these other guys as well. From Tulsa, formerly, they've got Tim Dolger, who is going to be with Team War Ready this year. They've also added Darren Green Jr. from Florida State and Naheem McLeod from Florida State, formerly. And today, or yesterday, I think it was, they've announced the addition of Posh Alexander, who's been on a lot of very well-known college basketball teams, including St. John's, which is going to be added to the roster. So right now you've got about 4 guys, it looks like, that aren't Auburn guys, and 7 that are, for a roster of around 11, which should put them close to what they need. I'm not sure what their priorities are, but you got a lot of Auburn guys, some that you haven't heard from in a long time. So definitely check them out. Follow this summer. It should be later in July when that basketball tournament is happening, and we're certainly going to be covering and talking about it here to see how our guys like Wendell, New, Leor, Malik, Yaheem, Chris, and Antoine Mason all do, because we're going to support Auburn people in their, whether in the pros or not. And as a final little quick note, just because I like to update you guys on these things, some transfer portal and recruiting news for women's basketball. They just added from FIU, Angia Beloso, who is originally from Spain, but coming over from FIU. She's going to be adding to the roster for 2025-26 women's basketball. And soccer just added a commitment, it looks like. I'm not 100% sure on if that's a commitment or if that's a transfer. I think it is from the high school ranks. Jillian Hutchinson, welcoming them to the Auburn family for women's basketball and soccer. That should catch you up on some latest recruiting across many sports for the Auburn Tigers. Thank you guys for tuning in to this episode. As always, we want to hear from you what you want to talk about. If you have a reaction or something you want to share about something we talked about here, or just want to share an Auburn story, we'd be happy to share it here on Ever to Podcast. Make sure you are subscribed. Hit us up on DMs on social media. You can email us at e2cnetwork@gmail.com. And there are several other ways to get involved, connect, things like that. Tons of podcasts, tons of videos, live streams, all kinds of content from us here at the Auburn Experience. Thank you guys for tuning in to episode 26. Until we talk to you again. War Eagle.